let's open it up for some conversation and questions.
Man, I'll tell you what, I wished I knew this 30 years ago. I see a lot of things in me where, I've never been taught. I mean, you could read books, you could read book after book after book, and that's a good thing. But in practice, you have to be in community or in relationship with others instead of protecting yourself and shielding yourself because you don't know how and you feel at a loss. Like, how do I communicate? I've read lots of books. But that alone is not going to bring me into the territory where I practice with another person that doesn't think like me
Hmm.
or is not me in personality. And I want to bring up personality too, because I don't think we don't leave that out, but I don't think that's the all of the everything that, I need to understand your personality. Maybe, but I think I love the idea of being curious about another human being, being curious about the argument you had or didn't have, or why don't I understand this person? I see this map thing. I mean, I see me in it. I see where my questions, like, how do I become a better human being, God? It's not enough just to read. You have to have practice with
Hmm.
others. And it takes a lot of work to know somebody. Oh, well, that's the whole point. If I can invest in you, I can learn to love you. If I don't invest in you, invest in wanting to know who you are, how you think, um, interrelationships, interrelationships, I think is where we're missing the boat in church, where the gospel doesn't really unfold and or the power of God because we're not, I don't want to accuse here. I know I'm not. So I'll say me, for me, I'm not engaging in people who make I feel uncomfortable. I feel awkward. I feel like I'm the ugly duck and I don't go past my own judgment and awareness of um, thinking people are more superior than me, thinking that I can't ask that question, thinking that I cannot know them. And I am so aware of this in me. Like, how did I get over here? I'm not stupid. What is this going on with me? Is this blocking me from knowing John Truitt? Is this blocking me from understanding Ray or Suzanne? Am I willing to travel that road? Less traveled. Let me add that title book. You got to go deep with people. You can't just surface slide, and I'm using my words here, but I see where I do that. And I did have an occasion recently where I thought of this model of going deeper. I was very tempted to lean on my own understanding until I said, you're not going to get to know this person. You're not going to be able to have this conversation with this person. You got to go deep, Donna. You don't know this person. You're judging them from some doctrine you have. And I went a little bit deeper with this person, and now they want to meet every Thursday. And I'm like, I have nothing in common. What am I going to say, God? And it's like, why don't you pray and start practicing some, be very mindful of wanting to know this person. Don't think you're wasting your time on this person. Like you thought, I thought about this 6 months ago and
Hmm.
gave up. And I thought, don't be like that. If there's communication, people can tell if you love them. They can, I don't want to say vibes, but you have to invest. It's an investment. If somebody invests in me, I think they care about me. Invest. We have to invest in other people. Anyways, I just wanted to make that comment, John. And I'm learning so much here. I mean, I've got like this whole booklet and then another one down just for this, but I'm so interested in learning how to be better at communicating and not stay in my corner of fear or ineptness. I want to learn um, to get better at this. And, I'm going to be 75. Who cares? I'm not dead yet. That
Hmm.
continual, dynamic in relationship can solve a lot of problems, for ourselves. We have become givers and
Yeah.
generous towards others. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I just the the looping for understanding process is so powerful for loving the other person and them experiencing you loving them,
Mm,
because we all want to be understood, right? And when we're kind of in that dysregulation of emotion, whatever, it there's nothing like someone taking the time
Mm.
to go through, genuinely understand, articulate it back, and you realize they really did do that, right? That, they really did listen. They really did care enough to get to the place where they really understood me. It is very much a produces a recognition that you did actually love them. Let's go to Edgardo. Thanks, Donna.
Yes, John, it's a very fruitful thing because through understanding others, a lot of benefits a person could gain. Number one, we can avoid conflict because by trying to understand others' perspective can help you uh, really go to the bottom of what really is going on with the person. And you can also avoid being judgmental of the person. Another beautiful benefit of understanding others. And another thing that I observe that we can gain out of this is that we can also preserve a relationship. And like for instance, myself, I can help myself to be open-minded
Mm.
because of trying to understand other people's perspective. If you only focus on your own perspective or opinion, you can only create problems uh, within the relationship. And that is why it is very important that you are open-minded and trying your best to understand the other person's position. Like this thing that you are sharing with us, this thing is so helpful, especially if you want to establish a good relationship with other people. There are a lot of things that we could gain out of this in the fellowship. You can deepen, your relationship with other brothers and sisters if you have this kind of an attitude of being open-minded and trying your best to understand the other perspective, the other stand that other people has. So that's the thing that I received from this teaching that you're sharing with us, John. And thank you very much.
You're welcome, Edgardo. Paul.
Hi, John. Um, John, thanks for that. I thought that was very helpful. I know that we do focus a lot on the Bible, obviously, for obvious reasons, I hope, to everyone. Um, but quite often it's obviously very theoretical, and we just kind of expected to implement that in our lives, go and do it, you know. Um, but as we know with the parable with the sower, it's easy not to do it because there's so many different reasons why it might not happen. Um, and I like what you've done here with actually using proven methods from psychology. There's no discounting that there are things that actually work, and can very much help us. This is not a doctrine you're teaching. This is down to earth, practical way of doing things. And I think that we had the chat at the start of this meeting where we talked about, the English Tour de France team, the cycling team, and 10% improvement, or continues 1% improvement, was it? And over time, they actually then won the Tour de France and ended up on the top there, from being the worst that people didn't even want to sponsor. So I like this. I think that no matter what age, the right thing would be doing something like this. And it's one of those things that's so worth putting in place to actually start making that difference in your life straight away. It'll take some practice, but people shouldn't give up with it. I think what you've shown here with the A, B, C, D and the looping for understanding, and I especially like the looping for understanding, I've got my own slightly more ad hoc way of doing things that kind of tries to achieve the same thing, but I like the not letting go of and not moving on until you've got that clear understanding of what the other person is trying to say, so that you do start off on that excellent place for negotiation or for discussing points further. Uh, and there's no looping back to that's not what I said. If you do get that confirmation before you go on, and
Yeah.
then you've really got something to build on in any discussions that you've got there. And it's so simple, I think it'll really take some practice, because we all feel like wanting to jump in. We all feel it's a bit of a roller coaster when we have discussions with somebody. There's ups and downs all the time, and there's things that we just want to jump on. But I think that comes back to what you said before that about the judging or being curious. So I think this is just so worthwhile to go away. And if you only do one thing for the next month, for the next 2 months, do this thing, because I think that could make such a huge difference for so many of us, including myself. So thank you for that, John.
Yeah. You're welcome, Paul. I would definitely agree with that. You made me think of a few things. I've known too many Christians who were knowledge Christians. They knew so much stuff, but their lives did not reflect Christ. And it's, well, again, what's the point of that? Right? What are you doing? Right? And I'd rather be ignorant but be like Christ than to have all the knowledge of theology that I could possibly have and not be like Christ. It's kind of dumb, actually. Um, I will say this too. The stuff that I'm teaching, I have used all this myself. So, either stuff that I've used for a long time or I've been using for a while, um, and put it into practice because I want to see if it works, right? And and I'm trying to do more and more of that these days than I have in the past, and and share on those kinds of things. And so I think that's a good way to go is you know try it out, see if it works. If it works, great. If it doesn't, well, then I'm going to keep looking for something that does work, right? And then you got to ask yourself the question: am I trying to win? Right? Is that my goal here? Am I trying to defeat the other person and show that I'm right? That's a win-lose, right? I don't think Jesus was going around thinking about how can I win these arguments and show them that I'm right and they're wrong. You know, sometimes he would just be quiet, you know, and and a lot of times you watch him. Sometimes he doesn't argue with him. He goes in some completely other direction, right? And I don't think we're supposed to be thinking about our interactions with other people as win-lose. That we're supposed to be thinking about how how do I help us win-win? And anyway, so thanks, Paul. Appreciate it. Let's see. I've got time for one more, and then I'm gonna cut the recording. So Sergio, but we will get to you, Sergio. I'll just stop the recording after Ray. Ray, you got the last word for the recording.
Uh, Many of you know that I practiced law for a long time. And I have interrogated, I don't know, maybe 1,000 people on the record and depositions to prepare for trial. And at first I thought, as a young attorney, I had the idea that, yes, I was going to prove the other side wrong in deposing them and asking them questions. And I soon found out that that's not how to go. And so I really appreciate this teaching because one thing, you start with our controlling our own emotions first. Because when you when I've confronted people about the things that they have done wrong and their reasons, I find that they become very defensive. And that's because I start off with being judgmental
Hmm.
by, but if I ask them why they do certain things, well, this gives them a chance to speak their mind. And I have found that people that are in a conflict with others, and they sometimes have never had an opportunity to actually give their side of the story. And so in in questioning people, it's so important to be both gentle and patient. And to go through this loop that you're talking about is something that I've learned through experience, not and I would think this would be a great teaching in law school to teach attorneys how to question people instead of trying to prove them wrong the first time they ever speak to them. Uh, and so anyway, I appreciate this. I think that's a really an important message. But we have to first control ourselves and ask ourselves, okay, what is it that we're trying to do here? And is it really realistic? And then to patiently work through this process that you've described so well. So thank you, John. I really appreciate the teaching.
You're welcome, Ray. All right, now I'll close out the recording with that. If again, if you are interested in more videos like this, you can find our YouTube channel on YouTube at Allegiance to the King, and or check us out on the web at a2kchurch.org. If you'd like to join us for these online, if you're a biblical Unitarian and you don't have a local biblical Unitarian church, come and join us online. Contact us through the website and we'll get you connected.